Most people are absolutely convinced that money is only meant to be spent, to buy comfort, material things, or experiences. But for a specific type of person, the numbers on their bank account long ago ceased to be a simple medium of exchange. For them, it is existential glue, holding their very personality back from total collapse. An obsession with wealth is not about greed. It is a story of deep psychological trauma, hidden terrors, and desperate attempts to drown out an internal emptiness. Right now, we are going to cold-bloodedly dissect the true dark side of those who are insanely in love with money. The first psychotype of people obsessed with money is driven not by a thirst for luxury, but by a paralyzing, subconscious terror of tomorrow. Psychology defines this as the wall syndrome. Such a person can pull in millions, yet they still continue to live in a state of severe, rigid austerity, where every single expense exceeding basic necessities causes them literal, physical pain. They hoard money not to utilize it, but for the sheer fact of its existence on their account. Every new digit in their banking app is just another brick in an invisible mental fortress that allegedly protects them from a hostile external world. The roots of this pathology almost always trace back to childhood. A child who grew up in conditions of deep poverty, parental instability, or a sudden, catastrophic financial collapse of the family receives a heavy psychological trauma. Their young brain completely fuses the absence of money with mortal danger, helplessness, and profound shame. Becoming an adult, they transform into a slave to their own mental citadel. It constantly feels to them like disaster is right around the corner. A crisis will strike, they will lose everything, and end up right back at the bottom. The tragedy of the wall syndrome is that this fortress is entirely illusory. No matter how many millions sit on that account, they will never grant a sense of peace, because it is fundamentally impossible to cure internal poverty and an ancient childhood fright with external wealth. The second psychotype puts their obsession completely on display. These are people for whom money acts as the sole surrogate for personal greatness. Conspicuous consumption is a vital necessity for them. Massive luxury brand logos, unjustifiably expensive cars bought on credit, pretentious gestures, and an endless vanity fair on social media. To the casual observer, it looks like this person is simply enjoying success, but a cold-blooded psychological analysis uncovers the exact opposite: total internal worthlessness. Deep down, this individual is utterly convinced that on his own, stripped of the external attributes of wealth, he is completely empty and uninteresting to anyone. His ego is defective and vulnerable. The purchase of every single status symbol is not about satisfying a need for comfort. It is a desperate attempt to slap a temporary bandage on a bleeding wound of insecurity. He doesn't just need to own the object. He needs those around him to witness that ownership and burn with envy. Through expensive toys, he screams to the world, "Look at me! I am worth something!" The tragedy of this character archetype is that the dopamine patch from a new purchase wears off in a matter of days, and the cry of the wounded ego resumes with a vengeance, forcing him into even deeper debt for yet another illusion of authority. We now move to the most cynical and darkest manifestation of money addiction: financial sadism. For narcissists, covert manipulators, and toxic personalities, money is neither about safety nor pretentiousness. It is a legal weapon of mass destruction and the single most effective instrument for total control over human beings. Such a person is genuinely convinced that everything in this world has a price tag, including human dignity, loyalty, and love. Possessing financial superiority, he begins to slowly and methodically construct a hierarchy of dominance within his family, business, or circle of friends. Money becomes a tool for conditioning. For submission and correct behavior, the victim receives a financial reward. For the slightest display of independence, a brutal financial blockade. The narcissist relishes the moment when a partner or subordinate is forced to beg, humiliate themselves, and depend entirely on his will. This is the easiest way to buy another person's compliance and compensate for his own impotence in real emotional intelligence. For a financial sadist, being stripped of capital means losing absolute power over his entourage, which is why he will maintain a death grip on his resources.
It is difficult for the average person to comprehend why multi-millionaires continue to burn themselves out at work when their capital could already fund 10 luxurious lifetimes. The answer lies deep within brain biochemistry. For this psychotype, money long ago ceased to be a resource for meeting needs. It is mutated into a pure dopamine narcotic, and the very process of earning it into an endless, high-stakes game of chance.
What we are looking at is the psychology of the hunter. His brain is completely numb to stability and peace. It receives a powerful hormonal surge only at the exact moment of closing a risky deal, crushing a competitor, or conquering yet another financial peak. The money itself is just soulless casino chips to him, a way to keep score in the game. The trap is that dopamine tolerance constantly builds up. What ignited him yesterday leaves him completely cold today. To feel alive, the hunter demands ever larger scales and exponentially higher risks. In this manic race for the next dose, the rest of his life, family, health, genuine attachments, crashes and burns, entirely devalued against the backdrop of a gigantic financial roller coaster.
This phenomenon frequently provokes bewilderment or harsh ridicule from those around them, but in reality, it is a profound psychological deformation. We are talking about people with a hidden poverty of the spirit. A person can possess an impressive fortune, owning successful businesses and prime real estate, yet continue to cause a massive scene over an extra dollar on a restaurant bill, maniacally hunt for discounts on pennies worth items, and cut corners on their own physical health.
This is the curse of the mental pauper. His real bank balance has skyrocketed, but his cognitive patterns and mindset remain completely trapped at the level of total scarcity. Deep within his psyche is a hardwired inability to accept abundance and just relax. For him, the world remains forever a hostile place where resources are strictly finite and starvation waits around every single corner. He lives with a permanent, nagging feeling that his wealth is merely an accidental glitch that the system is about to correct. This individual remains a mental beggar until the end of his days, because money granted him the ability to buy expensive things, but utterly failed to ransom his consciousness from the prison of eternal lack.
In the final analysis, money is merely a litmus paper that reveals the hidden architecture of the human soul with absolute precision. On their own, they are entirely neutral. They do not make a person good or bad, cowardly or dominant. They simply amplify, by a massive order of magnitude, what was already embedded within. The greatest truth dictates: money is an excellent servant, but a horrific master.
When you utilize capital as a tool for creation, development, and securing real freedom, you are the one in control. But the exact moment those digits on a screen become a band-aid for a wounded ego, a shield against childhood terrors, or a whip to control your loved ones, the roles instantly reverse. Capital takes the upper hand. And in that precise second, it is worth asking yourself one cold-blooded question.
who, in the end, owns whom? Are you managing your resources, or are your suppressed complexes and ancient fears completely managing you through these pieces of paper? Remember, true wealth begins in the processor of your own head, and it cannot be measured by any currency in the world.
If this cynical breakdown forced you to look differently at the true motives of those around you, subscribe to the channel and smash that notification bell so you never miss new episodes. We will continue to ruthlessly dissect the dark side of the human psyche.
And now, a question for a brutal debate in the comments. In your opinion, which obsession with money is the most dangerous? When a person hoards out of raw fear, or when they buy another person's submission? Drop your thoughts below. I will read every single argument. I will see you in the next video.